Okay, we're official. So I'll get up there so you can kind of look at me up there. You are in Math 0302, right? And how many of you, this is your first math class here at Northwest Vista? Everyone else has taken one before? All right. Well, I do things very different here. Um, so I don't know how this is going to work out for you. We're going to kind of adapt as we go. What I like to do is what you see here, and that's I kind of stand here, present topics, and write, let's just say something that we could start with today, something like this on the board, and then I work through it. I can highlight it, and the thing is, I'm recording the whole thing, and then I post it on YouTube, and you can always go back and watch it. Okay, so that, to me, that always sounds great, but last semester I taught two 0303 classes, and after the first exam, everyone wanted me to go back to a traditional lecture. So it's really going to depend on you. If you want me to do this, I'll continue to do it, and I'll do a poll, maybe a week or two in to see, where are we? Is this okay still, or do you want me to turn on all the lights and get on the board? Okay. So, but this is what I prefer to do. Just to show you kind of an example of what it turns out to be. This is my YouTube channel. Let's see. Here's my 0303 from last semester. I don't think we'll hear the audio, but this is what you'd see if you went home and watched this. Give it a second to buffer here. And I also have, other materials out there also. Oh, why'd I lose it? There we go. So that's what it would turn out to be if you went back and watched it. Okay? Okay. Let's get to the syllabus. Any questions about this so far? Okay. All right. The syllabus, we don't hand out a syllabus anymore. Okay. Everything is done through logging into ACES, right? Okay. And it's easiest if I grab my keyboard. Give me a second. Too much technology, I think. Well, this, it's really, I haven't come to the final conclusion whether or not this is really worth it in a course like this. In my calculus classes, I like, whenever I have a problem with my recordings, they get all upset with me. Like, your audio cut out like an hour in, they're all upset. So, we'll see. You'll let me know, right? Has anyone been to the lab that the gentleman up there was talking about? Everyone? Okay. There's a new requirement this semester. That's why I ask. Okay, so everyone is okay logging into ACES? All right, and then how do you get to your class? My courses, right? And then make sure your spring semester, these are all the ones I'm teaching. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So we are section 14. So here's the page for our class. I keep it pretty simple. Right now, all it says is link to syllabus. All right, so this is the syllabus. If we do these videos, what I'll do is I'll put a link to the YouTube playlist. So what you'll do is just go in here and click it, and it'll open up in a new window, and you'll be in YouTube. All right. So let's take a look at the syllabus, because this is our contract, my agreement with you on how the semester is going to run. Any deviations from this syllabus, I have to let you know. All right. And at the same time, you're responsible for knowing what's here. Let me see if I can zoom out. Good. All right, let's try this. So what's important here? I guess my name, I put it on the board, Robert D. Giovanni. I actually have been here, teaching here since 2000. I can't believe it's been that long. But since 2000, I've been full-time here. So this is my full-time gig. It's not just like a part-time job for me. So I'm available to you if you need help. A lot of people that get into math courses, or maybe it's your first time in college, aren't aware of what office hours are, and they don't utilize them. For me, here's my contact information, email. Here's my office location. That's on the first floor of this building, which if you've ever had to get to it, it's hard. You have to actually go out of the building into the stairwell, all the way down, then back in the building. And it's kind of a dungeon buried there in the corner. So that's why I chose that office. I looked at the blueprints. I was like, I'm going to be able to hide out there. So that's what I did. I'm JH. Actually, go to 111A, okay, and then walk in there, and someone can help you and lead you to my office. So in front of my office, the way it's set up, just so you know, it's kind of like, go back here. Like if you're looking from the top, here's the hallway, and then my office is over here on the right side, and in front of my office there's tables. So what you can do is you can actually come in anytime. I don't even have to be there. You come in here and sit down. You can do your homework. Okay, it's totally open for students to go. Now, there's not going to be anyone there to help you unless I'm there, but a lot of my colleagues that are in offices across from me and next to me, we help each other's students out. So like if I'm in class, but that's the only time you can go, if you go there, maybe you'll get to know one of my colleagues and they'll help you out, So I encourage you to take advantage of that. Go there. There's no excuse why, you can't get help here at the school. Here's my layout of when I'm going to be in my office. So office hours mean I will be in my office. Now, if you live in Kerrville and you're going to decide to drive all the way in just to come to my office hours, I would encourage you to call. Even if you live right down the road, just, if you're going to make a special trip, if you're not here on campus, make call. You never know what happens, right? Things come up. So I plan on being in my office. Let's see, Monday, Wednesday, we'll get back to that. On Tuesday, Thursday, which is when we're in class, immediately after this class, I go to my office for about an hour. It's closer to about an hour and a half. I walk down there. I sit there. I surf the web. I wait for students. And if they don't come, I go to my next class, okay? So right after this class, you can come get help. And then I have a class from 12:30 to 1:45, which just so happens to be another 302 class in this room. So that's another thing. If for some reason you missed this class, we're going to be pretty much at the same place as that other class. If you ever need to come sit in on that one because you missed this one, you're free to do that also. Just let me know and don't make it a habit. Hold on a second. Come on in. What's up? Oh, yeah, elevator? Okay. Sure. That's why I'm recording it all. I'll just send them a link to this. Okay, thank you. How are you able to tell? Well, I guess you can explain that later. I looked, but I couldn't. All right. All right. Okay, so immediately after this class, I'm there for about an hour and a half, and then I teach my class, and then I go back to my office for about another hour. So 2 to 3. Hopefully that works in your schedule on Tuesday, Thursday. On Monday, Wednesday, I'm actually there 11 to 1 and then 3 to 4. Now, I will say this. Actually, the 9:30 is the earliest class I teach, all right? So I'm usually in my office by 8:45. So if something ever comes up before this class, it's almost guaranteed I'm going to be in my office at least by 9. So if you need to talk to me before this class, feel free to go to my office then. Like if it's before a test or something, you want to just kind of get one last concept clarified, please come by, all right? But I don't have it officially listed. Y'all still with me? All right, here we go. We have the book. Now, there's major restructuring happening with developmental math across Texas. Are y'all aware of that? You may not be. For the longest time, it's been 0300, 0301, 0302, 0303. Those have been the developmental courses. We now are mandated to switch over to 3 developmental classes, 0305, 0310, and 0320. So they've condensed the 4 into 3, and it's a lot harder to get into certain ones. And so basically this class, you need to succeed in this class, and then you're going to have 1 semester to take 0303 and do well. If you don't get through this and then the 0303, you get automatically kicked back into the new system, and you have to test into a course, and you may wind up taking 2 classes again. So, you know, it's just one of those kind of, you're right there on the edge of things, and so it's important for you to do well in this, or it could really set you back. All right, so just be aware of that. So this is the book. I'm sure you can find it used. You'll be able to use it for this and 0303. So just imagine that whatever the cost of this is, divide it by 2. That's about how much you're paying for it per course. I won't get into the topics. I mean, we're going to go through them, but you should have passed 0301 to get here, or have placed in here through AccuPlacer. All right. So if you didn't pass 0301, but you're here, then there's going to be issues. Outcomes. So again, these are the things you should be able to do by the end of the semester. Okay, your grade. I do standard grading scale. Okay, just be aware though, they didn't change this. Okay, I'm going to have to edit this. This isn't right. In developmental math, the C is from 75 to 79, and then anything below 75 is not passing. So they give us this syllabus, and we import it, and it's supposed to be correct, but that's not right. So I'll fix that. Just be aware, though, 75 is the minimum grade that you can get to pass this class. I'll let you know when that's updated. The breakdown, though, this is the more important thing for you, is how am I going to break down the grade? So you have the lab. So throughout the semester, you have to go across to that glass room over there. Go in there, type in your, was it banner? Right, your banner. The clock, the system clock will start, you know, keeping track of your time. You go in there, you do your homework, you get help, whatever it is, you log out. Okay, at the end of the semester, you have to have 800 minutes. That's different. Last semester, and for as long as I've been teaching, it's always been 600 minutes. So they've added an additional 200 minutes. Now it's an open lab, which means you can go in there whenever they're open, but you can do it on your own time. Okay, so you don't have to say, oh, I'm going to go there every Tuesday at this time, but if you want to, you can. All right? That's a lot of minutes. Normally in like an 0303 class, I would say I'm not real critical on minutes. If you're doing well, but you're not going to the lab, but you're doing well, it's not going to hurt you. But in 0302 class, I don't know where everyone is. And so if you aren't doing well, but you're not going to lab, that's going to be probably, there's a correlation there. So at least to begin the semester, let's start logging some minutes over there. And that way I know you're going to do your math and you're getting help. Attendance policy, what I have is a folder which I will pass around, and it has just your name and a place for you to initial and the date. So I'll start this today. This needs to go around every single day. You need to initial it every single day. I might wait till the end of class. I might do it at the beginning. I might forget, so hopefully you'll remind me. I have to keep track of your attendance, which is just so I know whether or not you need to be dropped from the class. And what qualifies for being dropped, or I have it in bold here, you may be withdrawn from the course or given a failing grade for excessive absences. So here you go. Go ahead, look for your name, initial, and then pass it around. So you get 4 absences. That's an equivalent of 2 weeks of class you can miss. So if you get sick or something, okay, that's what the 4 absences are for. The 4 absences are for life. That happens. But if they start going past 4, most likely I'm going to drop you from the class. All right? I will always email you before I drop you. All right? You will know I'm going to drop you. Do not assume that you get dropped. I'll tell you a story. When I first started college, I went to a big university, and I don't know, I guess I was just having too much fun. I was young. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I stopped going to school. I'd just go every once in a while, class here, class there. And I thought, okay, if I don't go, they're just going to drop me from the class, and that'll be what happens. No, my grades came out. It's just, that's the way it read. Just F's across the whole way, I'm like, what the heck, man? I wasn't even there, like why didn't you drop? Well, because They don't register you, right? I don't register you here. I didn't say, hey, I didn't call you up and say, hey, come be in this class, right? So I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to do the work of getting you out of here. I just give you an F at the end. Just be aware that's the way it works in college. It's different. I don't want that to surprise anyone, all right? So that's what that says in bold. 4 absences. After that, you're pretty much at the mercy of your instructor. Any questions on that? All right. If you want to withdraw, you can always just email me. I'd like to be withdrawn from the class. Forgot to tell you something. I gave you a phone number up here. This phone number is actually my cell phone. So I teach 3 internet courses, and so I'm pretty much required by, if I'm going to be a good internet instructor, I need to be available. So I provide them my cell phone number. So all of you have my cell phone number also. I also receive texts. Just make sure if you're ever going to text me, you need to let me know who you are and what class you're in, right? If you just text me, hey, what was the homework? What I missed today? I don't know who you are. I don't know what, normally I don't reply. You laugh, but I mean, it happens all the time. So just let me know who you are, right? And same with an email, let me know. And if we do this video thing, if it works out, then you should never be kind of like completely out of it. You should always know if you missed something, what you missed. It kind of irks me a little bit when I do all the work of doing these videos and then someone will miss class and be like, hey, what did I miss? Well, go watch the video first, and then if you can't determine what we did, then, because usually I put the homework assignment and everything in there, and it's all. Also, I will print out the notes. Like, I'll show you an example. It may not be pretty, but I'll show you an example of something from last semester. These aren't going to be the prettiest notes to look at, but like, I'll put these notes, I'll put them in like you know what a PDF is? It's like a file that I'll put on our Canvas page under Files, and then you can go back to this and you can print it. So if you want to actually have what I wrote down in class instead of the whole video, or if you want to print it out and watch the video at the same time, whatever, you can do that. It'll all be provided. As long as you all want that, I'll do it. But if you all don't want it, hey, it's your call, okay? Let me see, man, it's taking forever. Outcomes, we did that, grade. Okay, so the lab, we said, I'm going to do quizzes. Now, quizzes can be in any format. They can come at any time. I could do a quiz every day. I can do two quizzes a day if I want. It's just always be prepared. I'll say this on quizzes. I like to give a lot of group quizzes where you're allowed to work together, but a lot of times it's one or the other. It's usually group quiz. You can't use your book. You can't use your notes. Or it's individual quiz. You can use maybe your homework, or you can use the notes you just took in class or something like that. So I make you all choose what you want, right? And then what I'll do is I'll take all those quizzes, I'll drop a few, and then I'll take an average, and that'll be 15% of your grade. All right? I would expect at least 10 to 15 quizzes total. Then we have exams. We have a lot of exams in this class. We have 4 throughout the semester, and then 1 final exam. So each of the 4 exams we take are 15%. So all your exams that you take throughout the semester are 60, and then your final exam is 20. And again, for those people first time in college, just in case you don't know, the final exam is actually the last week of the semester. It's a week where all you do is take tests, and that test is usually worth more than a lot of the other tests throughout the semester. And a lot of times it covers more, because the tests you take in class, you're going to get an hour, 15 minutes for, right? The final exam, you get 2 hours, 45 minutes. So it can be a very long test. Questions on the tests? Those should add up to be 100. So 100% of your grade. Attendance policy, I already talked about that. The lab, I talked about that. The gentleman, Al, he talked about the difference between the 2 labs. Okay. I have a policy on electronic devices, even though I'm all wired up here and everything. I do have some restrictions on what you're allowed to have in class. My biggest thing is that during this class, I want you to be engaged in this and not in your Facebook, not in your whatever is cool now. Just I know Facebook isn't cool for the younger ones because my niece keeps telling me that, all the kids are not doing Facebook anymore because their parents are all over Facebook. So whatever the hell it is that you're doing now, or whatever's cool, you need to disconnect from it. Okay, put your status as I'm in a math class or whatever it is, and for an hour, 15 minutes, I want your attention. All right. So if you are sitting there, trying to hide it from me, texting underneath your whatever, hiding this or whatever you're doing, it will cost you what? 10% penalty on your next exam. And I don't even mess around with that. I don't make I don't warn, no warnings. It's just first person who does it, I make an example. That way everyone knows I'm serious about that. Okay? Now, if you have something important coming up, or you forget to turn your phone off or something like that rings, that's fine. If you're expecting a text or, life, okay? But if it's just some random thing that you're just saying hi to your friend or whatever, that's the type of stuff I don't want here, okay? Questions? Anyone want to go drop the class? Okay, some people have a major problem with that because, it's college, you're paying to be here, you should be able to use your own, well, I kind of see that, but at this point in time, they still give the instructor the authority to make the rules of the classroom. And until that's taken away from me, that's my rule. Okay? I also have a behavior policy, sleeping or being disruptive. My friend teaches in middle school. He tells me all about these terrible horror stories, and everything else. And I'm like, in college, it's bye-bye. We don't, there's no parent conference here. It's 10-point penalty on your next exam if you're sleeping or being disruptive. So my advice is that if you're tired, so tired you can't be here or be awake, just go sleep in the hall or stay home, right? But don't sleep in here. It's worth too much to you. All right, scholastic dishonesty. This has to do with cheating. So it says here, the consequences of scholastic dishonesty is left to the discretion of the instructor, may include being given a failing grade in the course. For me, cheating, it doesn't really matter if it's a quiz or a test or, it's all the same to me. It's just about integrity and just whether or not you're that type of person or not. So, I've had people that get so anxious. They're like top students, great students. They're working hard, and during that test, they just freak out and they just want to look off someone. You've got to get that under control because it'll cost you this entire class. It'll cost you your whole grade, all right? No quiz, no exam is worth it. So you just take whatever grade it is, that's what you take. Tutoring, we talked about 6-drop rule. This has to do in Texas. I don't think this is going to apply because this is not considered to be a college level course, so we'll skip that for now. SOBI statement, oh my God. That used to not be there. Now it's here, okay? I'll be honest with you. I'm not real clear on what this statement means, but here's my interpretation of it, all right, is that nowadays we have to pay attention to each other, right? You see someone acting strange, right? You don't just let that stuff go anymore. You talk to someone about it, right? If you see your neighbor sitting there, he's got like, a couple of magazines for a gun, just laying in the bag, you don't just like, ooh, must be a hunter. You talk to someone about that, right? Anything that's awkward or just out of place, you need to just be aware of and do something about, right? And I do this kind of exercise every semester, every class. I haven't done it here, so let's see. Y'all know what an active shooter is? Okay, basically you start having someone out there shooting up people in the building, right? What's our plan? What is our strategy? Where are the exits? Okay, so I believe if we're lucky, one of these windows will lead us to something. We're on the 3rd floor, which would make you feel, watch your eyes, it's real bright out here. Okay, yeah, this window, not that one. This window, there's an awning down here. It looks like it's about 12 feet. It's a survivable fall, and it's a way out, okay? So we're aware of that, right? It's funny. Hopefully we never need to use it, but it's one of those things. I was raised, I don't know if anyone was raised this way either. I am getting old, but my dad taught me to sit in every public place facing the door and know 3 exits. Anyone else taught that? Yeah. Always sit facing a door, the main entry, always know 3 ways out. And I mean, you call it paranoid, but you also call it, what do they call, luck is preparation meets opportunity. Have you all ever heard that before? Something like that. Luck is preparation meets opportunity. So we try and be prepared. So if something ever happens, we hear something like that out there, everyone knows that table's going to hold the door, right? No? You don't want to hold the door. Okay. Well, no. So we know there's one way out there and there is a way out there. Okay, and we'll get a chair or whatever through that window if need be. All right, so just pay attention to people, all right? That's what the SOBI is. Here's our schedule. So today, orientation, review. We're supposed to start section 2.2. So you know where in the book we're going to be. 2.2 means chapter 2, section 2. Linear equations. Then we get into chapter 5. In this course, we're kind of all over this book, which not a big fan of, but that's the way it is. We're going to go 2.2, then we're going to go 5, then we're going to go 3. Then we go back to 5, then we're going to jump to 7. Then we're going to go to 6. I don't choose this, okay? And then we're going to go to back to 7, and then, yeah. So the exams, do you see the exams are in there? Okay. And we have spring break, right? Spring break. Nice. I try to give you an exam kind of before spring break on the Tuesday, because coming back after spring break, that's not a good idea. Then we come back, we have our 3rd exam, and then our 4th exam is right before the final. Then we have 1 day of review for the final. Then Tuesday, this is finals week. This last one is finals week. That's that week where all you have are finals. We don't meet on the Tuesday. We actually have our final on that Thursday. Okay? And we go from 9:30 to 12:15 for that final. This is about the value of an associate's degree. I have to put that in my syllabus, but it just talks about, you know, if you're planning on, how many of you are trying to do like a 4-year degree, transfer out? 4-year? Okay, how about associates? Anyone planned on associates? Everyone else maybe don't know? Okay, well, it's okay to not know. It's just make sure you're not wasting your time, you know, like try and have some goal. The associates is the 2-year degree, and it just shows you, you know, what talks about a couple of things that, you know, if you're kind of drifting, kind of I'm going to do this and this, trying to find what I like or whatever, if you at least shoot for a 2-year degree, if you look at the statistics on it, it really makes a difference in people in their future. You can still get an associate's and then go and get your bachelor's. I didn't get an associate's, but I was going all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Attendance. This is all institutional stuff. I actually have no control over any of this in the syllabus, okay? So I'm going to let you read through that on your own. College policies. I don't know. I haven't tried printing this syllabus, but I imagine it's probably like 12 pages long or something. It's ridiculous. So you don't have to print it out, but know where it is, know how to get to it. Any questions? No? Okay. So I thought about all these different things we could do to like get to know each other. I'm not real big on that usually, but I'm trying something a little different this semester. Do y'all feel like going around the room and talking about yourselves, or? Y'all are so quiet and shy. Where's the sign-in sheet? Okay, look, how about this? I'll tell you a little bit about myself, if that's okay. I'm not going to really upset anyone if I talk about myself. Okay, because a lot of times I think there can be some value in my story because, well, let me tell you, all right? So I went to, you know, high school. I was an average student, hated math, okay? Hated math. Grade school, in my grade school, it was like they had us in groups, A, B, C. A was like the people who knew what they were doing. The B was like average, and the C were like, you're just coming for the ride, you know? You're just come on along. So I was like C group math my whole life. I got to high school, same thing, you know, just didn't really care about math. But then, you know, I got to college and I was like, well, what do I want to do? And I had this grandiose idea that I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. And here I like totally sucked at math. You know, how am I going to be a mechanical engineer? But that's what I wanted to do. I was very naive. I didn't know. So I went to college. I started out my first semester. First semester went good. Okay. Second semester, I had some problems with my girlfriend, you know, social issues, whatever. I started partying, started, you know, who cares? Then I got all the on my, you know, bunch of, and so that happened a couple of semesters, and still didn't know what I wanted to do. Mechanical engineering was just an idea. It's kind of like, hey, I want to be an astronaut, but I mean, really, I'm not going to be an astronaut. You know what I'm saying? It's like mechanical engineer was more of a lie I was telling myself to try and make myself feel good. So I actually got put on probation. Okay, so probation is when your grades are so, you know, bad, and they're like, hey, you better get your shit together, or else, you know, there was other consequences. So I didn't get my shit together. So I got to the point where they put you on a 1-semester academic dismissal. So academic dismissal means that you can't go to that school for 1 semester. And so I sat out a semester, you know, again, trying to lie to myself. You know, I was just young and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, which is fine. It's okay to be that, right? It's okay to not know. The thing is, you don't want to waste time, you don't want to waste money, and you don't want to screw up your GPA. Those are the things you don't want to do while you're trying to figure it out, okay? So I sat out for a semester, I went back, still didn't have my shit together, and I got dismissed for a year. Academic dismissal for a year. Now that's a big one. So what did I do in that year? I actually came back to town, and I went to SAC, I went to Palo Alto, yeah, those two. And I took a couple of courses there. I started knocking some of my basics out, started to get a little more focus on what I wanted to do, and then basically just had that kind of eureka moment where I was like, look, I'm either going to do college or I'm not going to do college. I'm either going to put everything into it or I'm going to do something else. So I had to petition to get back into the university, which means I had to get letters of recommendation. I had to, you know, really make an effort to get back into the school. So I put all this stuff together, and I talked to the dean on the phone, and he pretty much told me on the phone, no go. You're not coming back. You've screwed up way too much, right? But I convinced him to have an interview with me. I went in there. He was very, you know, like, sit down, whatever, and I sat down, and he sits down. He's on the phone, and while he's on the phone completely ignoring me, I look on his desk, and lo and behold, on his desk is a picture of a girl I'd never seen and one of my childhood buddies from school, from grade school. And he gets off the phone. I was like, hey, that's my friend Vince. And he's like, you know Vince? Yeah, it's Vince, you know? And he's like, oh, that's my daughter's husband. And we started talking about Vince and everything else. And then we talked for like half an hour about Vince. And then he's like, well, where's your paperwork? Psh, signed it, and I was gone. And I was back in. And it was just, I don't know why it happened that way, but it did. And so I got very lucky, and I got back into school. And from that moment on, I said, okay, I've screwed up so much. My parents hate me, you know. I mean, everyone thinks I'm a loser, whatever. I'm going to focus. I'm going to choose the hardest thing in my mind to do. And I'm going to prove that I can do it. So what is the hardest thing? To me, it was math. Right? That was the one thing I hated. It's one thing everyone hates. It's one thing that's hard for everyone. So that's what I'm going to do. So starting then, I took pre-cal because I had knocked out college algebra somehow. I'd taken it like 4 times. I finally got through it. But I took pre-cal, and then from that moment off, when I got readmitted, I never saw anything less than an A. Straight A's throughout my rest of my college career. I had one semester, the greatest semester of my life. I had a semester where I was trying to get finished because I was getting old. I was like, come on, you know, I need to get out of school. So I was like, I had to petition to take 24 hours. Okay, so I took one semester, I took 24 hours, all junior, senior level math classes. So I had, 8 math classes in one semester. And it was like, I don't know, it was like that bright light of just like, whoa, it was like euphoria of math. Every class I went into was connected to the other. It was just like I was eating, sleeping, everything math. It was all coming together. And it, you know, from there I went to graduate school, and same thing. I finished it in a year and a half, and it was a great time of my life. But it took me getting to that point where I was like, I'm going to be serious about this. You know, if you're not at that point yet, if you're not ready to commit at least, I mean, all I want from you in this class is I don't want you to be like, I'm going to be a math major, screw it, you know. I just need you to put in effort into this course. And I promise you, if you put in the effort, it'll pay off. Okay? No matter what your history is with math, no matter how much you hate it in the past, just for this semester, I want you to start out believing that you can do it. All right? Just believe. And I'll do what I can to help you get there. And when you look at me, don't think that I'm just, you know, I love teaching calculus, don't get me wrong. I love the higher level math, but if I can make a difference for you by getting you through math so you can go do whatever it is you want to do, then that's my job, and I want to do that for you, okay? So I guess I associate in some way with kind of not liking math. I mean, I understand it's like, why do we do this? So, okay. Anyone want to talk about themselves now? Do we have any time? What time do we go to? 10:45? If we don't talk about ourselves, then we're going to go into straight into math. So, no? Okay. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for letting me know. Let me share some what I think might help you, and this will be for everyone. One of the things I see at this level a lot with math is bad habits. Okay, and bad meaning just the way you've been doing it. You've never, like, I've got students who are really like, they know what they're doing, but when you look at it, it looks like the person is like on some narcotic where it's just like they're all over the place. You can't read it. It's just like you know, it's just a mess, but it's right. You know, so you know, it's like you've got to get your head around a lot of things with math. Organization, neatness. If you have an issue where you want to understand something, you have to verbalize that. You have to ask the question, okay? But at the same time, when anyone in here asks me a question during class, I will always entertain it. But if it's something that I think is better suited for a one-on-one type thing, then I'll say, you know what, put a note on that and see me. That way we can address it. But you know, there's some steps that I know everyone would like to see, and what I'm going to try and do is give you as much as I can without just giving you everything. You know, it's easy as a student for you to sit there and watch a person who knows what they're doing and knows the next step and knows all the steps for the problem in their head already. It's easy to watch someone do that, but it's, can you get to that? So I'm going to try and leave out little things and ask you to help me. My big thing is, how engaged is everyone going to be? Are you going to sit there and be passive? Are you going to be active? I don't know. It'll be kind of on you. I encourage you, though, to share, you know, not necessarily right now if you don't want to, but talk to me about your situation, because everyone's unique, and I want to try and find a way to help you. You know, I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your, you know what. I really do want to help you. But if you're what I was when I first started college, you're not helpful. You know, I mean, like, there's nothing a teacher could have told me when I was a freshman in college that would have made me have desire to want to learn. It had to be within me, and so, you know, I'm open to that if you're ready for it. Okay, well, let's at least, because we can go around and introduce ourselves and everything, because we don't have a whole lot of time, I want you to at least see the style of how this works, okay? So let's go through a couple of examples so you at least get an introduction into, whether or not we want to stick with this layout. Do we need more light in the room, you think? That's one of the things I don't like about this, is it seems too dark. There's kind of you have to find that middle ground, because you get a glare on the board and then you can't see it. I don't know. What do y'all think? No? This table's great. You got a nice little soft light over you. Let me just crack these just a little bit. How about that? Is that okay? Everyone can still see the board okay? No bad glares? I'll tell y'all one last story before we start. I'm sorry. It's pretty unique. My wife and I bought her a car over Christmas. We went down to Corpus to get it and everything, and brought it back, and it had this weird smell in it. It's kind of awkward. Long story short, this wound up being a car that was used for major transportation of narcotics. And like, we were pulling like door panels out and finding stuff, and I mean, it was pretty crazy story. We wound up getting it and trading it in and got another vehicle and stuff like that. But it was like my entire last 3 weeks has been dealing with canine units and police, and it's been pretty exciting, actually. I mean, don't tell my wife that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, all stressed out, but I'm like, that doesn't happen every day that I mean, like, underneath the carpet of the vehicle, like in the wiring harnesses, were like all sorts of stuff. It's just, oh yeah, at Boeing, uh-huh. 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 I didn't know that's what they were doing there. Hey, it's happening, right? It's definitely happening. It's just, you don't expect to go to like a reputable car dealership and take a car out of there like that, like whoa. All right, so we're going to start out here. Let me go full screen. And if I get in your way, or if you can't see or you need to move, just let me know. We're going to start with one of the more common mistakes that I see in math, and that's order of operations. Okay, order of operations. I haven't written in a month, so my handwriting is going to take a little bit to get going here. Order of operations. Is that okay? Clear? So do you remember the order of operations? When we're trying to do math, there's an order in which we do things. Have y'all heard this one before? PEMDAS. How many of you have seen that before? PEMDAS? Now, there's some like cute little names that you can do. The one I learned was, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Anyone ever heard that one? Okay. So let's talk about a problem and see if we can get it right using PEMDAS. And I'm going to use old school notation here. That means when I say old school notation, this old division symbol, remember that division symbol? And then the multiplication, we used to use like a cross. Why do you think we stopped using the cross at some point? Yeah, it looks like X, right? Okay, but let's just see what you get here. So go ahead. Okay. Everyone's going to have an answer, right? We'll take a poll. Everyone got their answer? Okay. How many of you got 16? Okay. How many of you got 1? Okay. The correct answer is 16. All right. Now, why is that 16? You were probably taught correctly, maybe you forgot, or maybe you were taught wrong like I was. I always thought parentheses, exponents, multiplication, then division, then addition, then subtraction, just the way it's written. But that's not it. It's actually multiplication, division, and addition, subtraction are actually grouped together. And you do them in order that they appear from left to right. So multiplication does not get done before division. Division doesn't get done before multiplication, it's whichever appears first as you read it like a book. So when I look at this and I see division and multiplication, I say, okay, all I'm going to do is read it across. So I have to do the 12 divided by 3 first. All right, I'm going to do these first. So I'll put here on my next line equals, right? The top line equals 12 divided by 3, which is 4. And now I still have times 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. I like to illustrate that because I learned that when I was in college. I don't know how I got out of high school not knowing that, but I learned that in college. And I'm like, wait a minute. I felt like I need to go back and have a talk with like every math instructor I ever had because I was so upset about this. But it's just one of those things where rules are important in math, and if you understand all of them, things should work out nice. When you're taught wrong or you don't understand the rule, then of course things are going to be all off. Now, the reason why we have an order of operations is obviously because if you don't have an order, then you can get two different answers, right? And you don't want to be building a bridge, and one guy's like, oh, it needs to be 16, and the other person's like, oh, no, it's 1. You know, you have to have a uniform way of doing things. Unfortunately, it's a little confusing with that PEMDAS. So multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. So I'm just going to add that in there. These two are done. I put L to R, just so you can see that. All right. Now, there are certain things that I expect that you know how to do coming in here, right? Like 0301 is a prerequisite for this course. So there are some basic skills that I will assume you can do. And let's talk about some of those basic skills. All right. Solving linear equations. So solving linear equations. Let's see my time. I got about, 20 minutes, right? First of all, what is an equation? Well, an equation is anything that has an equal sign in it, right? And then linear means that we should see a variable in the equation and that variable should only be raised to the first power. In other words, there won't be a power on it. So something like this. 3x minus 15 equals, let's go negative 8. All right, so it's an equation because it has the equal sign. If the equal sign wasn't there, what would it be called? Anyone know? Instead of an equation? It's an expression. Okay, so anytime you see a mathematical pile of junk and there's no equation in there, it's called an expression. If the equal sign is in there, then it's called an equation, right? Once it's an equation, you have to determine what type of equation it is. Right now, it's linear because the x here is raised to the first power. We don't put the 1, right? So if you changed it, and I'll erase this, but if you change that to an x squared, which you will see at some point, this is no longer a linear equation. It is now called a quadratic equation. And then you go and you change it to a 3, and now it's a cubic equation. Then you can have 4th degree, 5th degree, and then, college algebra, you'll deal with, 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th degree equations. But in here, we want to make sure everyone can solve a linear equation. Now, the technique to solve linear equations is pretty much the same all the time. Like, the whole idea behind a linear equation is to isolate the variable. Get it by itself on one side of this equation, right? So our goal here, is to get it to be x equals something, right? X is something. And that something should be a number, shouldn't it? That should be a number. And that will be our answer. So how do you go about getting x by itself in this problem? Pardon me? Add 15 on both sides? Why not divide by 3? Not yet? Why not yet? It has to be alone first. So, there's all these things that we need to be aware of when it comes to linear equations, right? There is a process, just like order of operations. Please excuse me. There is a process. There is a set of steps that we could follow if we wanted to solve these. And many of you already know them and you're okay with them and you're comfortable with them. But the book does reference 6 steps. And if you're a steps person, I'm going to write them down for you. That way we have it. These are the 6 steps to solve linear equations, no matter what your linear equation is. If you like working with things like that. How many of you like steps? I would suggest that you get comfortable with steps, because like in a college algebra class, I'll give you an example of there's a problem that I do in college algebra that is about 18 steps long. So and it's literally like step 1, do this, and I give my students the actual formula sheet, the steps on a piece of paper, and give it to them on their test. There are the steps. Now, can you follow them? You know, so processes and steps is a big thing in math. So let's get comfortable with them. Let's write down underneath this. I'm going to say, you know, wait here on this. We're going to come back to this. Here are the steps, and I'm going to have to go to a new page here. So steps for solving linear equations. Now, when we did the PEMDAS, and I had everyone calculate it, right? We had one person get it right. Everyone else got it wrong. The moral of the story is, I don't care how comfortable you are with linear equations, pay attention, because there may be something in here that you aren't interpreting correctly, all right? First step, and these are on page 106, just so you know. I think it's 106. 106, yeah. I'll put it on the side here. Page 106 on the bottom. First thing, eliminate grouping symbols. Now, what are grouping symbols? Parentheses, brackets, braces. Okay, so I'll put that under here. What do they mean by that? They mean parentheses, brackets, braces. Okay, we want to remove those. Now, most likely to do that is going to require the distributive property, where we distribute something through the parentheses. Okay, but we'll do that kind of as we go. Second step, what's the second step here? Clear fractions and decimals. So what we're saying here is that first we get rid of all this junk, right? All these brackets and parentheses and stuff. We get them all out of there. Once we do that, we see if we have any fractions or decimals, and we get rid of those. That's what the clearing means. Most likely to clear fractions and decimals, it's going to require that we multiply both sides by something. So I'll put that under here also. We're usually going to multiply or divide both sides of the equation by something. Third step, we are going to gather variables. Gather I'm going to say terms. The book says variables. I'm going to say gather terms. In other words, collect like terms. You're going to put all your numbers together. You're going to put all your variables together. Fourth step, isolate the variable term. And what do they mean by isolate? Get it by itself on one side of the equation. Which side? Doesn't matter. Left side or right side, does not matter. You just need to get it by itself, the variable term. And then solve for the variable. Solve for the variable. That's often going to require us dividing both sides by something or multiplying both sides by something. And then the last step is to check. Okay, so those are the 6 steps. Everyone got them? All right, here we go. Let's go back to that problem. It was 3x minus 15 equals negative 8, right? And let's go through the steps. I'm going to write them down the side here. The first step was to eliminate all your grouping symbols. Now, do we have any grouping symbols? No. So I'm just going to put a check next to one. We've done one. It's not applicable to this problem. Second step, do what? Clear fractions. I don't have fractions. Clear decimals. I don't have decimals, right? So, that all right with everyone? Okay, third step is to gather. Okay, gather. Well, on the left side of the equation, 3x and minus 15 cannot be put together, right? Because they're not like terms, right? You can't put apples and oranges together, or better when you can't mate cats and dogs, right? You don't put cats and dogs together and expect to get little kitties or doggies, right? 3x and 15, those aren't the same species of things. 3x is a variable term, 15 is a number. So can't group them, can't collect them together. The right side, negative 8's all by itself, can't do anything. So now we get to the point of isolation. So I'm going to check step 3, right? Step 4, we're going to isolate. Okay, so for step 4, let me do some work here. I'm going to get rid of those highlights real quick. To get my variable term, which is 3x by itself, all I need to do is get rid of the minus 15 that's next to it. And so how do we undo a minus 15? Add its opposite, right? So add 15. So I'm going to add 15. Now there's different ways to do this addition. The book does what's called horizontal addition. So the book does this. They write 3x minus 15, and then they come in here and they say, I'm going to add 15. And then on the other side of the equation, they come in and they add 15. So the blue is what's been added to both sides, right? The red is everything that was there before. That's called horizontal. They keep it all on one line. I don't do that. I do vertical. Now, we're going to take a poll because horizontal is actually better because it keeps you going like line to line and it makes it nice and neat. Horizontal. Vertical is, I think, easier because it's less writing. You don't have to rewrite everything each time. But for you use whatever you're comfortable with, but if you're like doing the vertical but you're messing it up all the time, I would recommend maybe you try something different. Let's take a quick poll though. How many of you do this, horizontal? Anyone do horizontal? Like this? No? Okay, good. At least we're all on the same page then. Then let's just scrap this and let's go and we'll do it vertical. So we do 3x minus 15 equals negative 8. And we are going to add 15 to both sides. So you do it like that, right? Okay. Now, do y'all put a line underneath like this and then add down and create a new line? How many of you don't put the line? I don't either. Okay, so this is all where you are just going to have to figure out what works for you and what makes sense. I'm going to put the line there just because. Now I'm going to add down. 3x is added to nothing. Negative 15, straight down, these go away, so I have nothing, right? Always bring down the what? That equal sign, don't forget that equal sign. We still have equals in the middle. And on the right side, what's negative 8 plus 15? 7, positive 7. So we have done step 4, haven't we? We've isolated the variable term. We have 3x equals 7. And now, how do we get x by itself? Solve this. We'll divide both sides by 3, right? So again, if you do this vertically, what I recommend, okay, if you're going to do this vertically, I have no problem with it. But at least just rewrite it one more time, okay? Just take the time to just go one more line and just rewrite it. A lot of people try and they work with it and they do this and then they come in with the 3 and that's okay, but that can really start to catch up with you later when you're trying to do a lot more complicated problems. So just write it one more time. 3x. So when I divide 3x by 3, I get what? x, right, because that's really 1 in front of x. Then on the right side, we're going to leave it as 7/3. Now, could you go on your calculator and get that as a decimal? Yes, you could. I don't care for you to do that. I'd prefer you just leave it as a fraction. All right. Now, that is the type of problem I would expect everyone in here to be able to do walking into this class. All right? One more. Let's see. We've got 5. Yeah, let's try one more. But it's going to be a little more challenging. I'll save fractions till next class, all right? How about this one? How about 2 parentheses x minus 5 close parentheses equals -3 bracket 2 x plus 1 in parentheses minus 6 close bracket. Now this is the math you don't like, right? And when you start getting more complicated like this. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do when I look at this, and by the way, the instructions here to solve this, I didn't put that on the last one. Solve this equation. The first thing I want to notice is that I am looking at an equation, right? So it is an equation. And is it linear? Yes, because our x's are to the first power, right? Everyone see that? Our x to the first power. Now that may seem like, who cares? But like I've said before, as you move on and do more and more math, you have to know what you're looking at, because if this were a quadratic equation, we wouldn't use the same 6 steps that we just had. Those 6 steps only apply to linear equations. So we first make sure we're clear with what we're working with here. So we got a linear equation, and we're going to start going through the steps. The first thing is to remove all my groupings, all my grouping symbols. I've got a lot to remove here, don't I? Let's start on the left side of the equation. What can I do with all this over here? Distribute that 2 through. So that 2 is going to multiply times the x, and that 2 is going to multiply times the -5, right? So what would that give me? 2x minus 10. Good. Right? Now on the right side, I actually have parentheses, but they're inside of a bracket. So what do I do first? Do I do that -3 through first, or do I do that 2 through the x plus 1? I'm going to do this in here first. So the rule is that you look on, you work your way from the outside in. From the inside out. So I go inside to that 2 times x plus 1. I multiply that 2 through. So let's do that. What do I get here? 2x plus 2. Now I'm going to rewrite everything else. I have my -3 sitting out here, hasn't done anything. I still have a bracket. I've got 2x. I've got plus 2. And then I still had over here what? Minus 6. Questions on that? What should I do next? I still have grouping symbols, so I can't move to the next step until I... Yeah, we need to get rid of these brackets. To do that, we have to distribute the -3 through, right? Now, you could do it right now. You go -3 here, -3 times the 2, -3 times the -6. But what's 2 minus 6 here at the end? That's a -4, isn't it? We could actually put those together first and then distribute the -3. But if you didn't do that, it wouldn't be wrong. You'd still get there. It'd just be, you just have 2 numbers sitting next to each other. So I'm going to choose to group combine these together real quick just to get another number. And yes, I'm going to waste paper, and I'm going to give myself a hand cramp by rewriting everything again. I'm running out of time. Okay, now distribute the -3 through here. Negative 3 times 2x is what? Negative 6x. And then what's negative 3 times negative 4? Positive 12. And on the left side, 2x minus 10. And now we've removed grouping symbols. So next step would be clear fractions, right? We don't have any. What's the next step? Gather variables. So on the left side, can we put them together? No. On the right side, can we put these together? No. So we can't do anything for step 3. Step 4, isolate the variable, right? Now things are a little tricky because we've got variables on both sides. So this is where you get to choose which side you want to go to. And it really doesn't matter, but sometimes there's an easier side because you can keep your variable term positive. So by looking at this, I have a 2x on the left, I have a negative 6x on the right. If I add 6x to here and add 6x to here, then I should be able to get positive, right? So let's do that. Add 6x to both sides. I'm doing the vertical. And I'm going to simultaneously get rid of, since my x's are going to wind up on the left, I'm going to get rid of the negative 10 on the left side by doing what? Adding 10 on both sides. And what you do to one side, you have to do the other. Now I'll do that little line here. And good things should happen here. What's my left side going to become? 8x, and then the 10s cancel, right? Those are gone. On the right side, my equal sign, right side, the 6x's cancel, and I'm left with 22. Last step, divide by 8, which is x equals 22 over 8. That fraction can reduce because they're both even numbers, right? So you can go 11 over 4. Agreed? Okay. All right, we are out of time. All I'd like for you to do for homework tonight is get the book. Anyone not have the book yet? Okay. This is going to be your one night where you're not going to have to worry about homework, all right? But everyone should have the book next class. Keep in mind that if you're waiting on financial aid or anything like that, money, the library has these books on hold that you can go and check them out. So next class, you will have a homework assignment out of the book, all right? Okay, everyone. We are done.